Objects are an important concept in software engineering. An object is a value that behaves like what it's supposed to represent. Let me show you an example. There's a module called datetime, which represents things like dates and times. And from that, we can import date. Now, date is what's called a class. And when I create an instance of a date, I do that by calling the class. So if I create a date, 2015, February 20th, that's a date. Another date is the date of your freedom, which in this course, in this semester, is on May the 12th, when you take your final exam. Now, an object is supposed to behave like the value that it represents. So it should be the case that if I combine today and freedom, for instance by computing how long it is between freedom and today, I should get a reasonable representation, something that tells me these things are dates that I'm subtracting from one or another. There are 81 days left until you're free of this course. The primary mechanism by which objects have behavior is through their attributes. And you access the attribute of an object through a dot expression. So you can get the year of today or the month of today by asking for its year or its month attribute using a dot expression. And we'll talk exactly about how dot expressions get evaluated when we do a deeper introduction of the object system in Python. But for now, you should realize what one of these expressions means. This is a name. It could be any expression that evaluates to an object. And then you have a dot, and then the name of the attribute that you want to look up. In addition to attributes that are bound to values, you can have attributes that are bound to functions. Those are called methods. So a method is anything that you access using a dot expression and then called like a function. The stirftime method of a date is a way of formatting that date as a string. Why is it called stirftime? Well, that's a historical accident. Somebody named this stirftime long ago, and so we still use that name today. What stirftime does is it takes in a string that describes how I want to display this date. Today is what's being displayed. And so this method is invoked on today in order to give me a string representation that says Friday, February 20, where the %A corresponded to Friday, %B corresponded to February, %D corresponded to 20. Now notice that up here, I never said that this was a Friday. I never even said that the way you say February is February. It's just part of what it means to be a date, to be able to generate things like the name of the weekday or the name of the month. And so that's what I mean when I talk about objects behaving like the things they represent. So objects represent information. They consist of data and behavior bundled together to create abstractions. Objects can represent things, but also properties of things or interactions or processes. They're an extremely general concept. Anything that has attributes can be represented as an object. A type of object is called a class. Classes are first-class values in Python. They can be passed in as arguments to functions. And objects are the heart of object-oriented programming, which is an approach to programming that allows us to organize large programs using a central metaphor, that a large program isn't just one big thing. It's a bunch of individual objects communicating with each other by sending messages back and forth. Now, in order to convincingly use this metaphor throughout the large program, we have a special syntax. And the dot expression is part of that special syntax. That helps us improve the readability or composition of our programs. In Python, every value is an object. Every value has attributes, including numbers and strings. A lot of data manipulation actually happens through object methods, and we're going to look at several of those today. Functions are meant to do one thing. So the well-designed function has a single purpose. You pass in some arguments, you get some return value. Objects are different. They represent something that may have lots of different behavior bundled together. Dates don't just do one thing. They're used in many different ways. So objects do many related things, and they can have multiple methods, each one of which is like a function.